Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Experts of the Americas series. I am Valentina Sader, Deputy Director of Impactful Programming and Brazil Lead at the Adrian Arch Latin America Center here at the Atlantic Council. And today I am beyond excited and honored to be here with a close friend but a more impressive person, Renata Amaral. She is the Secretary for International Relations and Development at the Brazil's Ministry of Budget and Planning. Renata, thank you so much for joining us. It's so nice to have you here, and I'm excited for today's conversation.
Thank you so much, Val. I'm really excited to be here with you, my dear friend, and at the Atlantic Council. I am a big admirer of your work for a long time, and it's nice to be here in a new position and being able to speak a little bit about what we have been doing this 10 first months of the government of the Lula administration.
Thank you, Hey. And I wanted to start our conversation by really talking about this, right? Like this is it. We're in October right now as this is being recorded, and it's been a year since the election of President Lula. So I wanted to ask you, what have been the priorities of the Lula administration and Minister Simone Tebich's on the budget and planning side, and in this particular front?
Well, I think one major project we had this year at the planning ministry was the pluriannual plan.
Mm-hmm.
So we traveled the 27 states of the country to hear and to listen to civil society, their demands for the next 4 years of the government, because the pluriannual plan works for 4 years, so from 2024 to 2027. So always in the first year of the government, we have a pluriannual plan of a new administration. So we had more than 4 million access to the platform that we had online to receive demands from civil society to see what they wanted the country to pay attention on. So the number one issue was climate change. Now we sent the material to Congress in August. By the end of August, the leader of this project was Secretary Lenny Lemos, also a good friend of yours. And now we are waiting for the Congress to approve it by December. I think this was really remarkable because it was a very inclusive and participatory project. We had the president participating in at least two of the events. We had the first one and the last one in São Paulo. And I think this was a very rich experience for us at the Ministry of Planning and Budget, and to the presidency as well, because we are working very closely to the General Secretary of the presidency, because it connects us to what is happening in the country in reality. Because otherwise we stay in Brasilia, in our buildings, in our chairs, we don't have that connection. So to be able to travel the whole country and see and hear the demands from the society was very rich for us. And especially because we did this in the first months of the government, so we had an entire administration ahead of us, and so this, I think, it was really remarkable what was done with the leadership of Minister Márcio Macedo and Minister Simone Tebet. Another thing that I think is very important, we have a Minister of Planning and Budget as Secretary for Evaluation and Monitoring of Public Policies. And why am I mentioning that? It's Secretary Sérgio Firpo, also an academic like myself from São Paulo. And Sérgio is working really close to the Federal Budget Secretary to review how do we spend money and where do we get the revenue for the country. So I think this is a very, it's a new process in the way it is being developed by the government. And I think it was very important, for example, for the PELOA, it's the budget, the annual budget law that we send also to the Congress by August 31st, and it's also in the process of approval. So it was already an important process to review the expenses and to review where the revenue is coming from in order to have the budget for 2024 and for the years ahead, of course. We already know that 2024 is going to be a challenging year budget-wise. But I think this is also something very remarkable from Minister of Planning. As what regards to my secretary, one thing that we have the target of paying all the international organizations by the end of this year. All the international organizations that Brazil is part of and the banks, we had a lot of money that was not being directed to the payments of international organizations for the past years. So it was a big work to try to redirect the money and also to turn this in compulsory expenses for next year on. So we have to pay everything, because for us that work with the international environment, we understand that once you sign an international treaty, it's a law in your country, right? In Brazil, it's how that works after ratification. So we understand it's a compulsory expense commitment that you have. So it was a very nice work that we did together with the Federal Budget Secretary. Itamaraty is very happy with that. And so this is, I think, one of the remarkable things that happened also this year, and that the president is happy about.
That's great that you are setting up the plan for the next 4 years. Really, listening from the Brazilians, going to the states, and having this in mind of really evaluating the public policies that are being targeted for this budget. Thinking about, Renata, on your side, the side of the Secretary for International Relations and Development, what do you see as Brazil's role in the multilateral arena, especially as we think about the G20, Brazil hosting the G20 next year? I think this is going to be very relevant for our audience, but also thinking about Brazil's role in the in Latin America and the Caribbean in general, but also thinking about broader the entire world.
Well, regional integration is one of the major requests from the president. He wants us to focus on regional integration. We are doing our own work at the Ministry of Planning and Budget. We are going to launch a report very soon on projects, border projects with our neighboring countries, projects that are already ongoing, or projects that have the capability of being successful projects for the future, thinking about infrastructure and logistics and integration, right? So this is one of the main priorities for the president, and we are working with, I work very closely to the IDB, to CAF, FONPLATA, all the regional banks to make it happen. Another priority are the multilateral organizations, and the review of multilateral organizations is going to be one of the pillars of G20 next year of our presidency. So there is an aim to review and to re-engage with the multilateral organizations in a different way, because we are in a different world right now, right? The world has changed a lot. So I see for the president, it's very important, this international leadership that I think it comes natural for him. I always say he's our best diplomat, because I think this is something that he does very well. He has traveled, I think, almost 20 countries already, just in this first 10 months. And us from the international secretaries, we are also traveling a lot. And I think this is the message, one of the messages that we would like to deliver this year is to say that Brazil is back, as he always says, that we are interested in engaging more in the international arena, in the international organization, multilateral, regional, bilaterally. We are working with trade agreements as well. Mercosur-EU agreement is, we might have a new momentum now to the end of the year to maybe close the agreement. We had negotiations with Singapore recently, last week, in Asunción, Paraguay, also Mercosur, Singapore. So what I feel is a lot of movement, thinking about the multilateral scenario. Also, OECD, we are in the process of reviewing our priorities and the pros and cons of keep going with the accession process. I think this is important. because it is a new government, so we have to answer to the demands of this government and what the society expects from us. So there is also an interministerial group working, and it involves almost all ministries of the government, working towards understanding how important it is to keep the accession process going, or if we can still remain working as a partner of the OECD as we do. All the technical work and the working groups we are part of, the work keeps going. We are working on it. I was at the ministerial in Paris with Itamaraty in May, so we are engaged. The idea now is to understand the pros and cons of the accession process as a whole, no, for this new government.
I think that this is very it's very clear the priorities and the way that the government is approaching. You mentioned a few of the future looking priorities as well. But my question also thinking my final question actually, Renata, thinking about, we are ending the year. This is the end of the first year of the Lula administration. What do you see for the next three? Right, we have 3 more years to go in this administration. What are the priorities? How do you see some of these approaches and these projects that you were mentioning being prioritized in the next 3 years? What is the outcome for the end of this administration in 3 years?
Excellent. Well, we just approved the fiscal framework. This was very important, and it was a very close work of finance and planning. We are expecting to vote the tax reform at the Senate by the beginning of November. We have the understanding that we need to approve the tax reform the first year of the government. Otherwise, we also might lose a momentum. So we are very optimistic, especially Minister Simone Tebet. She was a senator for 8 years. She has a very good relationship, and I think she has a very important role now with the Congress towards approving the tax reform. Also, we are going to deliver not only the pluriannual plan that was delivered and it's in the approval process, but also a long-term plan 2040 for the country, for Brazil. So we are doing this exercise now of having a long-term plan for the country for the first time also, regardless of the change of the administration, but what are the priorities for the country. In the international scenario, we have the G20 presidency next year. We have COP30 probably happening in Belém in 2025. We might have Mercosur-EU agreement within the following months. So I think the international front, it's going to be remain a big focus for Lula, for the president. Energy transition is a big subject for the next years. It's going to be one of the main topics of G20 as well, and reduction of inequalities in the country. So this is also going to be one of the main topics at G20, and it's a very important topic for the president himself. He always says reduction of inequality, fight against hunger, women issues. We're going to have at the G20 the first working group on women empowerment. So I think we are going to have a very progressive agenda for the next 3 years of the government. And I see the whole government very much aligned with those topics, with the agenda proposed by the presidency. So I think energy transition and climate change, we're going to see that this is the central of the work of the president, as it is here as well. So this is a very important connecting dot between the administrations for the next years. So I'm optimistic. I think we have a lot to deliver. We are in a good moment for the country. And I do believe that us in the international side of the government are going to work a lot for the next 3 years.
That means that so are we. So
yeah.
in that hopeful note, I would like to thank everyone and thank you, hey, for joining. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. And thank you for our audience to joining us, for connecting and listening one more time. See you next time.